Fresh start, we're back. Hello again. This is Lisa from Big Cat Rescue. I'm a volunteer here, and we're here today with Carol to give you another Cats for Kids tour. And I say another, we have been doing this since Sunday. Some of you have been with us the whole journey, and those of you that have been, thank you for your support. And if you're new to us, I hope you enjoy today. So we're going to hopefully start with Gilligan. We're going to try Gilligan again. Gilligan wasn't very cooperative yesterday. It's a little warm for Gilligan right now. Gilligan is a Canada lynx, and we tried to tempt him with a sickle yesterday, which is a cat version of a popsicle. It is a blood sickle, actually. So imagine blood in a Solo cup and frozen, and that is his yummy treat. But he was having none of it yesterday, so we will keep our fingers crossed. It has gotten a little slightly cooler, a little bit of cloud
like
cover.
Rain in the air.
Yeah, it's not quite as much direct sunlight, so maybe that will be enough to lure Gilligan out a little bit.
People always want to know where the blood comes from.
Well, we do food prep every single day for the cats. They eat breakfast every day, and they have very individualized diets, so some of the food has to be cut up. Some of it, obviously the bigger cats like the tigers, we don't have to cut up their food into little teeny tiny pieces, but we have our Monty leopard, who is older lady, and she's got throat polyps, so she has to have hers cut up. So each cat is very distinct. They have their own container or bucket, depending on how big they are. So when we're preparing the red meat, there's natural blood that is left, residue from that, so that's collected and saved to make blood sickles.
Brienne says thank you for doing this every day.
Thank you, Brienne. Thanks for watching every day. So we're going to see if we can find Gilligan. And you mentioned something yesterday about that side tunnel as a likely spot, so we're going to look for all his normal hidey places here. Cats do tend to be somewhat habitual. Got really good at this today, Carol. You'd have been proud of me because I had to go in and out when I was doing raking, and I had to do double. So it was really, yes. All right, Gilligan. Sometimes that spot where the ball is a good spot for him too. You think he's in his den? So he does have an air-conditioned den. This formation here that looks like a stone cave is actually air-conditioned. That goes way back to the days when we had snow leopards here. So he is enjoying a little cool break today. It's pretty humid.
He's on the other side.
We won't give up yet. We're going to check. Zookre's out. Maybe we should say hello to Zookre. We'll say hello to you since you're right here, okay? Hello. Hello, Zookre. This is Zookre's serval. And he's enjoying some shade right now.
Michelle wants to know if you'll sing again for them.
Oh, sure. I don't know what Zookre's favorite song is. Zookre, I don't know you yet when it comes to music. He's kind of young. I don't know if he's more, I don't keep up with what's popular in music, so probably I'm not the best at that. I'm going to have to think on what would be a good Zookre song.
Marlene Gilligan is eating, but he's fussier when it's hot like this. It's that transition between cooler weather and hotter weather that they go through shedding all their coat. She called you zucchini.
Zucchini, I like that. So Zookre is, as I mentioned, our youngest serval, but we do have many servals here at Big Cat Rescue. And the reason that there is such a need for rescuing servals is they are in high demand in the exotic pet trade. Also for breeding of hybrids called Savannah cats. So it's kind of like a double whammy there. People want to own the pure servals, and they also want to own the hybrids. So he came from Ohio, as I mentioned, rescued from a breeder. And I just find it just amazing, the enclosure that he has here now compared to living in somebody's basement and probably never seeing the sun or walking in grass and getting to interact with all the wildlife that comes into his enclosure. He does have a bit of that as well. Servals are very interesting cats if you're not familiar with them. They are quite aggressive, catch about 50% of what they hunt in the wild. And if you compare that to a lion is about 10%. And they are competing with those larger predators. So they have to have really big attitude in a small body.
Linda says thank you for these informational videos.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
And Susan says these are wonderful.
So is anybody watching out there from Ohio? If you are, I'll give a shout out to Ohio. That is where I was born and raised, lived many years of my life. He looks pretty content right now. Don't let this fool you. As I've been talking about how aggressive servals are, you might be watching him sleeping so peacefully and thinking, oh, he looks very sweet. He looks like I could just pet him, and you would be so wrong about that because they can be so aggressive. I have seen him when he's getting fed in the morning, and the guillotine door has to be down. We'll go look at his lockout here in a moment, and I'll explain what that is. But he has to have that door down while the feeder is putting his breakfast on his breakfast plate.
Christine and Pamela are from Ohio.
Oh,
and
hello.
Bree.
OH?
And Stephanie.
All right.
And Cynthia.
Wow, lots of Ohio fans out there. Wonderful.
There's just a bit of a delay between when you say something and the answers are. Haley says she's from Kentucky.
Ah, and so we're neighbors.
Everybody can give us your country or city or state shout out. Paula from Montreal.
Ah.
Diana says all us adults are learning good stuff too.
Oh, good.
Carol's from Reynoldsburg.
Oh, yes. I know Reynoldsburg. So I grew up in Columbus. But actually, I think I lived in Reynoldsburg when I was little, but I don't really remember it. I was pretty young. I always forget that. My brother remembers it a little better. He was 4 years older than me.
Lots of Canadians here.
Ah.
No, it's
Eh.
Why are there bulls in its own cage?
Ah.
Wants to know.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll take a look at a lockout here so you can see what that's about. So when Zookre gets fed, the feeder is going to stand about here and drop. And I'm being very careful because his door is open right now, so I'm just going to pretend to drop some food in there. And that door would absolutely be down during that process because he is very young, he's very quick, and he's very grabby. So just for the safety of everybody concerned, that door will be shut, and you can see this rope here, that is accomplished from the outside of the enclosure, not the inside of the enclosure, for everybody's safety. And this water dish is up off the ground and also protected with that white tile. That does a couple of things. White reflects light, so the water doesn't evaporate as quickly. Also helps to keep debris out. And I understand that the level of the water is so the cat does not pee in it, which is not a good situation for the cat or the water. So this barricade here helps to keep out, is it mainly birds? Ducks, yeah. Oh, and then we have these, I didn't even know this. I discovered something as being new to Florida, that these turkey buzzards, these vultures, are protected. I did not know this, and I was on a tour one day and going past Priya before she was at Tiger Lake when she was where Jasmine is now. And she had caught a buzzard, and she was running around with it, and I thought that was kind of cool until I found out she's not supposed to do that. And they had to get the buzzard away from her. So there is a lot of natural wildlife here as well, and sometimes we do have those interactions.
In fact, I understand Perfection caught another possum.
Another possum, yes.
I saw it on the observation chart this morning.
She is just amazing. And Perfection is just this itty-bitty little tiny ocelot again. Teeny tiny body, huge attitude.
Michelle wants to know why there's a high demand for servals in the exotic pet trade.
I suppose, even though it makes no sense that the size, that people think that'll be more manageable than a tiger or a lion, but it's not true at all. Even though they are smaller, they do not want to be in your house and sit on your lap and be petted, and they're going to absolutely mark everything with urine when they spray, and they're not going to digest domestic cat food. They're going to use their teeth and claws. Now, unfortunately, some pet owners do declaw, which is just an awful, awful situation for the cat. And actually, in many states right now are outlawing declawing even for domestic cats, which is a very, very positive step. It's like taking this part of your finger. It's not just removing claws. So it affects very badly the way the cat moves and can cause a lot of issues like arthritis and be very painful for the cat.
And even with domestic cats, what happens when they declaw the cat is the cat will use its teeth more. And so it becomes
as
more
a
of a problem.
compensation.
And
yeah.
even if they take the fangs, they'll bite you with those
Yeah.
those razor blades
Exactly.
that they've got in the back of their mouth.
Oh, that's a very good point, because we are omnivores, so that means that we can eat anything. We can eat plants and we can eat meat. Cats are obligate carnivores. They only eat meat. So they're, like where our molars are, those teeth are not grinders like our teeth are, because they have no reason to have grinders. It's not part of their diet. So that is, as Carol mentioned, that's absolutely sharp, just like having the fangs in the front.
You want to see if we can find him?
Yeah, we're going to go back to Gilligan. You have enough lead?
I'm a little close to you for this social distancing. Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give you enough out of that. Okay.
Here, let me see. I'm getting really good, Carol, at multitasking here. Unlocking cages and
So, some of his favorite places are like up there.
sometimes he likes these ferns too. Yeah. Oop, we may not have any luck again with Gilligan. I was hoping maybe he'd be up in his tree too. That's what I. All right, we may not have a Gilligan spotting again today.
The air conditioning is just too
It's
tight.
too much of a temptation, yes. Can hardly say I blame him. All right, we will.
He's in his AC den too.
Oh, I didn't realize he had one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if Filmo would be. We have a bobcat that likes to perch up in a tree in his enclosure. So I am looking up for that reason.
In the wild, if you're looking for bobcats, you should be looking up because they rest in the trees during the day.
He's not in his favorite little crook there. Okay. All right, make our way back out here. I think we're not going to have any luck with Gilligan.
We can go out this gate.
Oh,
It's kind of a big gate, but we can about it.
passed up an opportunity to exit here.
I don't know what we were thinking. You could drive a truck through this.
Oh, that is a big gate. Get that right on there. Yes, okay. Now we're going to make our way to Aries, because I don't believe we have had an opportunity to talk about cougars yet in any of our lives this week. But as we're making our way there, we are going to pass many other serval enclosures, so it's always possible we might make a stop. Oh, and Flint's out. Flint, you're old reliable. You're just so adorable. Hello, Flint. That's right, Nabisco's on vacation. So all of this on my right is still Zookre's enclosure, the serval that we met earlier. So he has quite a lot of space. He's so young and he needs lots of space to be active. It's important when you look at pictures or video at Big Cat Rescue that you realize that you might just be seeing one small section of where the cat is living at any given time, and that the enclosures are always quite a bit larger than what you're going to be able to see in a photograph. Oh, Cricket's out. Absolutely, I want to see Cricket because Cricket has a really good story. That way. So Cricket is another former pet, serval. But what's really unique about Cricket is she was really fed an improper diet. And many of the cats that come to us who are rescued are fed improper diets, but hers was the most improper it could be because she's an obligate carnivore and her owners were vegan. So she was basically fed broccoli. Now, cats are obligate carnivores, and there's nothing wrong with a person being a vegan. People can do that because we're omnivores, and we can have that balance. But it's not appropriate for a cat who's an obligate carnivore. And you can see in Cricket, her tail has a kink in it, is a little bent, and when she walks, you can see that her bones just didn't develop as they should have.
It's kind of duck-footed.
Yeah. And it's sad, unfortunately, you cannot reverse always what's been done to a cat, even when you're giving them the best of care. Just have to move forward. Hello, sweet girl. That was a very classic serval hiss we just got there.
Edith says, good job with these clips.
Is that the Edith?
The Edith? Eckert?
Edith Parker? No?
Oh. Edith
We have a volunteer here also named Edith. That's why I was wondering.
Jennifer Johnson says, my son asked, how do you move them to vacation rotation spots?
Oh, that's a very good question. And we're coming up on the funcation, so when we get a little bit closer, we'll take a look at that for you. Are you going to stay with us for a little bit?
And actually, you'll see the tunnels here when we go behind.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So you could just cross underneath this chain.
Okay.
So you're going to be next to berries. Look out for berries.
Again, another new path. There he is. He's in his den. And I'm going to stay on this side of you, Cricket. Hello, handsome. I'm going to come out.
Layla, age 4, wants to know, does her tail hurt?
Oh, good question. I'm going to guess that the answer is no, but I don't know for sure.
If she were acting painful, she would be on pain medications.
Okay.
Based on her vet, and I don't know that she is.
Yeah. Aw. That's a very nice question to ask, though. She's
when
settling
Cricket
in.
arrived, was it difficult for her to switch to a proper diet, or was she more than willing and ready?
That's a good question. I do know that there is a transition process that happens, really with every cat that comes here, because even not just the hybrid cats and the smaller cats, but even tigers, they're not always fed a proper diet before they arrive here, so there is some time that it takes to transition them. But my understanding is she is quite happy to be on meat now.
From the very beginning, she was like, oh man.
Where have you been all my life? Aries is over there looking at me like, I don't know why you're on this side.
So they were asking if you could show or tell them how these tunnels work.
Absolutely.
See a tunnel right there.
All right, so here's a tunnel directly ahead if you see that black ball on the ground, and then just kind of take your eyes back. So that tunnel system can be connected so that it is completely enclosed, so it's roofed in sides and doors, and the cats can walk through those, and that same system is going to enable them to just walk themselves onto funcation when the time comes.
You can see it against the wall.
So we'll keep walking back.
And if we go all the way around his cage, we should be able to come up the
This way?
side close to Harry. We'll have to come through the tunnel.
Here he comes. He says, why are you back here? All right, so imagine that you're a cat and walking through this tunnel.
We may not be able to get through.
Ah.
because that tunnel is currently open behind us.
Ah.
So it enables him to go from that cage to that cage by coming around this way.
Oh, I see. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of space here. Can you all see the tunnel behind me? So we did have 3 siblings. Aries had a brother and sister, Artemis and Orion, and they arrived here as cubs. It basically grew up here at Big Cat Rescue.
He's stalking me.
He is totally stalking us right now. So you know
So
when you ask why don't we pet the cats, take a look at this. If you ask yourself why don't we go in the enclosure with them, take a look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, he's purring. Fun fact, cougars are the biggest cats who can purr. Oh, look at that paw. See how he can reach his paw through there? So that's why we are not getting so close.
Zach, age 7, says those tunnels are cool.
Yeah, they are cool. I agree. Aww.
Are you sleeping?
So when the 3 cubs arrived here, their mother had been taken from them by a hunter in Idaho. And unfortunately, a lot of what's difficult right now is that the United States has a patchwork of laws. There's 50 states, and all the states have different laws and regulations. So in Idaho, it was not allowed to rehab those cubs and let them go back and live in the wild the way they were meant to. So they could only go to a zoo or come to a sanctuary. And that's a very, very sad situation because there was no reason for them to have to be in captivity. They were born in the wild. Obviously, they would have had to go through rehab because they didn't have their mother to teach them. They do need to be with the mother usually close to 2 years in the wild to learn all the skills that they need to survive. I'm just going to be quiet for a minute and let you listen to him purr.
They were commenting on his eyeliner.
Beautiful eye. You're just beautiful. Yes, you are. So these cats have the world record for the most different names. So depending on what part of the North America that you find them, some call them cougars, some call them mountain lions, pumas, catamounts, wildcats, and here in the Everglades in Florida we have a name for them. I'm going to wait for the delay and ask any of my friends out there if they know what you call them in Florida.
Julie says she would lose a hand. Too tempting, huh?
So they are the Florida panther here in the Everglades. So a very common misconception. A lot of people think there's a cat called a black panther. And of course there's a really great movie and comic book. And if those of us that are a little more well-seasoned remember an activist group named the Black Panthers. But in the wild, these cats, which are panthers, are not melanistic. So meaning that they're not going to be black naturally. So hopefully we will see a cat who is black naturally today.
2 questions. One is, why would a hunter take their mom? And the other is, why can't he be in the wild?
Those are 2 really good questions. And I don't know if I have a good answer for why a hunter would take the mom, except to give him some credit. The law in Idaho said that they could hunt male cougars only. But from a distance, they don't really look different the way lions do. You can really tell a lion apart in the wild because a lion male has a mane and a female doesn't. But cougars, there's not that distinctive marking from a distance. So in fairness, I guess, he didn't know he was taking a female cougar. You also notice he's quite a bit bigger than a Florida panther would be because Idaho is colder. So cats that cover a broad range of territory tend to have those adaptations depending on what their natural habitat is.
Thank you for showing everybody you don't live in a tunnel.
Yes, if you just tuned in, he was just visiting us in his tunnel. So the reason so many bubbles here is the three of these cougars did live together. I'm sorry to say that he did lose his brother and sister not too long ago, as will happen. That's the circle of life. But it is pretty unnatural to have three cougars living together. That would only happen in captivity, meaning in a place where they are kept by humans, right? If they were in the wild, as soon as they had gotten to be of age, they would have separated and found their own territories.
Question was, did the hunter bring them to us?
No, there was a person who, like a person before they came to Big Cat Rescue, who had them. Yeah, would a rehabilitator. Thank you. Fortunately, there are a lot of people out there doing that kind of work, caring about animals in the wild and performing rescue.
But in her state, it wasn't legal to release them.
Just want to make sure we can hear him purring. Oh, that's true. I have the mic. I forget. I have the mic.
Sophia says this might be her favorite cat.
Aw.
Kate wants to know how many hours a day does he sleep?
Oh, I don't. I'm going to estimate based on cats who are domestic. They probably spend, I would think, at least 12 hours a day sleeping, maybe more. But I believe that also activity has something to do with it. In the wild, they would be hunting, and they would be obviously more active and need to rest up after hunting.
And probably their age.
Age is a factor as well, definitely.
He's 14, so it's like, what, 70? Is that right? 80. 14 times 6.
Yeah. 6 of cat years, it would be 6 to 1, so his age is 14. You multiply that times 6 to get equivalent to human years.
Shaylin wants to know why it's illegal to release them in Idaho.
Well, because that's what the state regulations are in Idaho. Unfortunately, we don't have a single federal legislation to cover any of this. So it is decided state by state, and depends on the decisions of the legislature in each state.
Feichi wants to know if they get any kind of enrichment, and Claire wants to know how long they live here compared to their wild counterparts.
Two very good questions. So the lifespan is extended quite a bit here at Big Cat Rescue. In the wild, it would be 14 would be really advanced, but here at Big Cat Rescue, I believe our oldest cougar lived to be 29. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. They are not competing for food. They're being fed daily. They're having all their medical needs attended to, dental needs even. They have a pretty stress-free existence. But also, I think 14 years in the wild compared to 29 years in captivity, it's a quality versus quantity question. And I'm sorry, the other question was about
Does he get any enrichment?
Enrichment, thank you. I was just looking to see if there are any. So you might have noticed some balls when we were back there walking and he was in his tunnel. So that's a form of permanent enrichment that the cats all have, some kind of toys in their enclosure. But they also get seasonal enrichment. So in October they get pumpkins, and that's really fun to watch them just tear it up and chew on it and have a great time. They don't really eat it, they just like to play with it. They will get whole turkeys in November for Thanksgiving, uncooked because those bones get brittle when you cook. And of course, cats are not cooking their food in the wild anyway. And then they get pine trees in December. But unlike our Christmas trees, we don't decorate them and put lights on them. They just get the pine tree. And the reason they like that is they're very scent stimulated. The way that things smell really makes them interested. It keeps their brain active, and they just love to rub up against those pine trees and have a good time. And I believe they get watermelons in July as well, yeah?
Riley, age 4, wants to know if they can swim.
Oh, a cougar? I don't know the answer to that. Can they? Okay.
Yeah. They're not keen on it, but they can do
But
it.
they will. They're opportunistic swimmers. So, yeah, many of the cats, like jaguars, will swim. They'll do it to get from point A to point B or to hunt, but it's tigers that really swim for pleasure, just for the experience of being in the water. I've never seen his belly fluff before.
His belly.
I'm enjoying this moment right now.
Peachy wants to know if they get bunnies for Easter.
Well, that is a very good question. So we do have something called whole prey that the cats get twice a week. And some of the cats do get rabbits. And the reason for that is it's like us taking our vitamins. They need to have that whole animal that they would eat in the wild to help keep them healthy.
But it's fed frozen, or
Right,
it's frozen.
Yes. So they're not actually chasing the prey around. So that's an important thing to know about these cats is they've never been out in the wild hunting. Even though he came from the wild, he was still just a cub, so he wasn't at that place yet. So if they're not used to hunting for their food, that's not a skill that they've learned. And if they're used to being fed, which most of these cats came from captivity, and that's all they know.
Nadine wants to know, I've lost track now. Somebody wants to know how often you do this, and somebody else wants to know if you can't release them in Idaho, why not in another state?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to say, how often do we do this live? We're hoping to do it. I know tomorrow we're not going to be able to, but we're hoping to do it daily. I'm in a kind of a weird, as many of you are, I'm sure, out there, kind of a fluid situation right now. I am employed by a school, and my role is a support role, so they have not actually told me what I'm doing next week yet. So my hours are a little uncertain right now, so we're hoping to keep this going at some level. And to answer your question about being re-released, habitat is so very specific. Even though there are cougars all over the U.S., they're adapted to the area that is their natural habitat. So to put a cougar who's from Idaho, say in the Everglades, that would not be successful. For one thing, they're not adapted to, their coat is thicker. Here we can make life a little bit easier for some of our northern cats, but in the wild, that would not be possible. And the prey base is going to be different, and just everything about it. Plus, we cannot release a cat who has never lived in the wild. And we're going to respect the cougar right now.
And it would be illegal because states don't allow you to release non-native animals. And even though they may be right across the state border, like between Florida and Georgia, Georgia will not allow us to release a Florida bobcat in Georgia or vice versa. Even though you guys don't respect boundary lines. I got a question. Are any of these cats people friendly?
It depends on what you mean by people friendly. So to the point that yes, they do recognize different volunteers here if they see them every day. So I guess friendly as in maybe lay there and purr, but not friendly as in let anybody touch them or play with them or pet them.
You all know Mama Becky.
Yes, Mama Becky is definitely.
The treat lady. Oh, we love the treat lady.
Oh, I love that purr.
Russ, the size of this cage, because he was living with his brother and sister until recently, is about 3,600 square feet. Each one of our enclosures is at least 1,000 square feet is our very smallest, and then almost all of them start at 1,200 square feet after that. My house is under 1,200 square feet, so if you can imagine a cat the size of your domestic cat having the size of your house all to themselves, that's what our cats' cages are like. But we don't believe these cats belong in cages. And you can talk into the microphone more about why.
Right. Yeah, definitely we don't believe that cats belong in cages. And that's another reason we breed the cats here. Don't allow them to breed. Because once you breed a cat in captivity, that's what the existence that you're giving that cat. It's not ever going to be able to live in the wild. So you have to be really careful. And I mentioned this the other day, but I think it's worth mentioning again. Because there's so many young people out there right now not in school and probably spending a lot of time on the internet and possibly also on social media, that you have to really be careful out there. And you have to separate fact from fiction, and you have to be safe out there. So really check, if you want to find out more information about a topic, make sure that you're checking sources, check more than one source. That's just very important to do that in this time that we live in.
Shaylin wants to know, do they ever get to go to different enclosures or get to move into different permanent enclosures?
They do, and actually maybe we should take a walk over to Funcation and show them that next. That's a nice segue. Thanks for the segue. So this is Aries' den. And he does like to spend time in there as well. In fact, he was in there peeking out at us on the other side when we first got here. Can we get all the way through? Okay.
So this is still his enclosure.
There we go. So Funcation is what I like to call timeshare for cats. We have 56 cats here, and with the exception of the tigers, all the cats rotate through spending 2 weeks here. So it gives them another form of enrichment to give them more space and just be in a different area, see different cats, smell different things, smell the cat that was in there before them, remark everything.
Oh, he's right there. Around Aries' cage, and then all of that back there is Aries' cage as well. You said Nabisco's them?